Okay, that was interesting. Am I even live or what? I pressed go live and the app just crashed. And I reopened it and now it seems to be working. Okay, I honestly, I don't even know with this technology. I am still testing things somewhat, so I may go live again later today. Because one of the things that I test is, of course, the persistency of like metadata among things, specifically YouTube. From the last stream, randomly, YouTube actually did save all the information about it. It did not reset somehow. So the whole thing is just 100% random. Sometimes your dashboard remains. Sometimes your dashboard gets reset to some random state in which it was maybe a month ago, maybe two. Maybe it was 2 streams ago, whatnot. And sometimes, while all that happens, you still get the title from the previous stream, and the tags and the category. But all the other settings are set to some random BS, including things like, for example, the visibility is set to private. Things like that. Okay, I'm done bitching about that. It's not something I'm interested in talking about. Okay, so what did we do last? Well, the weather forecast absolutely lied to me. It's actually rather nice outside right now. It's not even that cold, as you can see. I mean, it still warrants dog boots, I believe. But, well, because it's snow. Any amount of snow makes his paws bleed. So, yeah. Still warrants boots, but like for me, myself personally, I could manage without a scarf. It's really not something I desperately needed right this moment. Right this second. Okay. So, yeah. 2 things, not even 2 things, 3 things I talked about in, on the topic of bitching about video games. It was Dead of Boy, Ghost of Tsushima, as Americans say it, and what was the other game that Spider Slop, Marvel's Spider Slop remastered. Yeah, I think all of my rants on those games got consumed by the ether, which was YouTube glitching out with live streaming. Well, it wasn't necessarily glitching out. I was just misbehaving. I'm a millennial. I've been using technology my entire life. I occasionally have this really stupid and naive expectation that things will just work because like A, B, and C is how it should be working, and the system has been up and running for over a decade. You would expect for things to just work, and then they don't, like, at all. Repeatedly, if you've been a Microsoft user, ever in your life, you have repeatedly seen this situation happening when things just literally don't work. Linux is the same way, by the way. If you've been a Linux user, things with Linux, you know, it's like that Anchorman joke, you know, 60% of the time it works every time. That's Linux, you know. Oh, Linux is very stable and like super. Once you configure your Linux, it'll be the most stable and reliable thing ever. Yeah. 60% of the time it will work every time. That's fucking Linux for you. Out of the box, very few things work there at all, honestly. And if they do for you, well, consider yourself lucky, really. I am hardly using Linux for anything super progressive, but the amount of technical bullshit you have to do for some of the things that, well, even the format of those, like, it's mainly just, it's like dependencies. Every time you need to install something on Linux, there's like 300 dependencies that, you know, half of them gets pulled automatically. So that's nice. The problem is that the other half is not included, and the devs forgot to mention it. And, you know, you have to like find out what is it exactly missing, what exactly is crashing, what exactly does the system think is missing, what is actually missing, what might not be activated or maybe like referenced, needs to be referenced in some other way somehow. Yeah, whatever. So with streaming, you know, there's like this thing where if you ever streamed on Twitch or Kick, you expect this thing that's called, like, you know, your like streamer's dashboard, streaming dashboard, live stream dashboard, whatever. It's just the dashboard, really, is what it is. That's where you set your, you know, your title, your category, your tags. You expect this thing, because that's how it's been since, like, it's been forever, specifically like this. All that information, all the state of the dashboard is persistent. And whenever you stream, your stream gets named, you know, and categorized in accordance with whatever is inside the dashboard. Whatever is in the dashboard, whatever the dashboard is set to. YouTube doesn't work like that. YouTube creates this micro events. There is such a thing as a quote-unquote default state of the live stream dashboard. Absolutely, when you open it, it does not necessarily open a scheduled stream, a scheduled event. It just opens its default state. So that's the state you're gonna go live if you just go live. Except if you go live using the app or any other streaming assist software that may take control over, like, naming your stream, for example. And that's what Prism does, and that's what Restream does too in the free tier, by the way. You cannot just add a streaming destination like you know, RTMP streaming destination. Nope, you have to integrate. And if you integrate, Restream is trying to take control over your stream's name and all other kinds of metadata, which for YouTube is crucial because YouTube has a lot of settings, you know, for your stream. Kick and Twitch, yeah, you know, there isn't even such a thing as description. You know, there's just the name of the stream, the tags, and the category. That's basically it. Yeah, for YouTube, there's a lot of settings, and I am now super paranoid. Okay, are you going to like, so the settings that aren't exposed here in this panel, like, are you going to overwrite them, like reset them to whatever YouTube thinks is default, or to whatever hidden defaults you have? Or are you just gonna leave them as is, like as they are currently? Like, in the perfect world, my perfect solution is just like, don't do any of that shit at all. it's completely unnecessary. It serves no purpose. Just restream, right, my stream to that streaming destination, and that's it. Like I already have the dashboard set to what I need. Like, why would I ever, if I'm using Restream, right, and I make like a YouTube one of my destinations, why would I name that specific stream? Why would I want to rename that specific stream inside the Restream dashboard? Like, it makes absolutely no sense. I already have my YouTube set up to what I need, and if I need to rename it, I'm just gonna open YouTube and rename it. Like, it's just, the whole thing makes absolutely no sense. It is so counterintuitive. That's not how you make the service you claim to provide. That's not how you do it. Anyway, so I am testing now, I suppose, whether the whole thing even works, and the opener was pretty nice. My app just crashed, the IRL Pro app. It literally just crashed the second I went live. So that's nice. I mean, it worked on the second attempt, but on the first one, it just crashed. So that's fun. But yeah, when you create a YouTube destination, you need to select an event, right? You need to tell the app whether it's going to create a new event, in which case I have no idea why would I want that, because barely any settings get exposed. Again, YouTube has like a million settings per event, for chat, for visibility, and all the basic stuff like tags and descriptions and whatnot. And some of them get pulled from defaults, but some of them aren't. If you ever streamed from the YouTube mobile app, you know that wherever you have your defaults set to, half of them you cannot set at all. You can kind of set them in the dashboard, in the desktop one, but not in the mobile. And then the dashboard, maybe it will remember your last settings, maybe it won't. Like, you don't know, dashboard doesn't know, YouTube doesn't know, no one knows. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Yeah, and then we have like, even when you stream from the app, like to YouTube, it still has like, you don't even have the defaults for the app, which is ridiculous. Like, you cannot set a default thumbnail for the app. It just makes no sense to me. Why can't I? Oh, do you expect me to go through like all these settings every time I go live from my app? There's time for that. Like, I don't know, it just makes no sense to me how the whole process is structured. So when you do Restream, right, it still asks you to choose the YouTube event to which you will be streaming, and one of the options is create new one, which will be the default settings, I suppose, of your, like, what your like YouTube mobile app would give you, which is shit, because on the mobile you can at least change a few settings, but through Restream, no, it'll just launch with default ones. So that's not the level of control I need. That's absolute fucking idiocy. It's 2025. Can you please give me the settings for the live chat? No? Okay, thanks. What a great opportunity, for me to test your product. I'm so grateful. And the other one is the current settings of the dashboard, believe it or not. It is being recognized as a separate event. So I wonder if that event is persistent, because that's what I chose in the settings. So if after the stream the settings actually remain, and I can keep streaming to this persistent event, which is the current state of the dashboard, then basically I claim Restream as something that works. which is fantastic. And I'm pretty sure that when it comes to doing the settings for like Kick, for example, yeah, it does, in fact, I think, override the title, but everything else it probably just pulls from the current state of the dashboard. It doesn't like override them, or it doesn't delete all your tags or anything like that. I don't think it does that. It does override category. It does override the category and the whatnot, and the title. Yeah, everything else is basically just tags, and I'm sure it will not like override them to just say restream in them, and that's it. I don't think it does. Yeah, so yeah, that's essentially what I'm testing now. If this whole thing actually goes on YouTube into the event of the default state of the dashboard, and if it does, if the restream event, because you have to create an event in the restream dashboard, but they claim that those events are reusable, so okay, I suppose it doesn't go away. Like a copy of it goes into the history tab, I assume, but the event itself is just stays there in your like main like home tab of the dashboard, and you can keep streaming to it. Okay, fantastic. Let's see if the setting for the YouTube event then sticks, because obviously the default state, Mooch, come on, let's go back. The default state of the dashboard is probably perceived by whatever is hooking into the like YouTube API. Is probably perceived by as a persistent event. I assume. So hopefully that setting does not get reset to create new one. Hopefully that stays, and if it does, then yeah, I can be using Restream. And why the hell am I using Restream instead of just doing Kick? Because I remembered about it. So I'm just testing things right now. That's all I'm doing. Also, pretty interesting thing with Kick. Just like so I was actually about to test things on Kick, and I tried opening my account, my Kick page, and it no longer existed. And I tried logging into Kick, and it told me incorrect password and or email. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I know my password, but let's try resetting it. And this password reset system did recognize me, okay? But even after resetting my password, it still would not let me, let me log in. So I had to contact the support, and they were very swift actually. And they did not comment on the situation at all, but they did say the problem has now been resolved. And it actually is resolved. It had been resolved in like less than 3 hours probably. So that's actually really cool of them, because if I did the same to YouTube, I would have been waiting for there would have been nowhere to contact them, period. Let alone get a reply. And if I did the same to Twitch, there probably would have been a place where I could contact them, but then I never would have gotten a reply. Anyway, come on. I did tell you to go in this direction, okay? So let us glow. And yeah, I did say I didn't want to talk about the technical stuff, but I don't know. I spent like 40 minutes. I wasted like 40 minutes on this bullshit today. The other day, I probably wasted like an hour-ish on trying to move back to Kick. And I was super close, actually. Like, I have Kick stuff ready, the connection ready to go in IRL Pro. But interesting thing is that in IRL Pro, to create a new connection, you literally just name it. You come up with a name for it, and you give like one big URL that combines both your stream key and the like the server, right? The stream URL and stream key. You combine them into one URL, and you stream to that, and that's the connection you've added. Fantastic. That's it. That's all. But with Kick, it actually doesn't work, because in between the stream URL, it's literally like stream URL / your stream key. That's how it works always for everything. Well, for Kick, it's your stream URL / the word app, APP, / and then your stream key. And okay, fantastic. So any app that is not familiar with that thing, that just expects you to have one big link, you need to know about that. And I mean, I'm not super bitching. It only took me about like, I don't know, 10 minutes to figure out. But that's 10 minutes I was not supposed to be wasting out of my life. So the strange thing is that I've recently played the second Lara Croft emotional trauma Lara Croft game, Rise of Tomb Raider, which should have been called Rise of Tomb Raider, not Rise of the Tomb Raider or the Rise of, like, it's just like, no, it should have been just Rise of Tomb Raider. Anyway, it was actually a pretty interesting game. It was a little bit exhausting towards the end, because just the amount of looting, the amount of collectathoning in that game was absolute overkill. But I did enjoy it otherwise. And I will probably be finally checking out the third game. But before I do that, I decided to go back and play the first one. And wow, that game is rough. First of all, I have no idea how I managed to play it back in the day on PS3. Maybe because the frame rate was low, so it wasn't as annoying. But the camera in that game is literally impossible. You have to hex edit the camera shake out of the game, so that's an interesting way of modding it. You need to manually hex edit the part, and the solution basically exists only in like a random comment on a Nexus mod that no longer works. So that's fantastic. You know, that's definitely not going to be lost to history at all. You know, that way of fixing the game. Yeah, not going to be not going to be lost in the ether of the internet at all. 100%. And yeah, the rest of the game, I now remember why my initial reaction to it was that it was cute. Because the game is, like, compared even to the second game, which was still very floaty and a little bit jerky, like it was not particularly smooth in the animation department, for example. The first game, okay, first of all, there is no sprint button, so I have no idea how they made a game without a sprint button, a game like this. But I know why there is no sprint button, because there is no sprint button in Uncharted. All of these like mini hubs, mini open areas to explore, like, it is all so pointless and redundant. Like, that game is pretty okay, but it would have been even more okay. It would have been even better. Well, a little bit, but still. It would have been better as just a linear game. Like, the open world hub thing was just completely unnecessary for it. I still did like a few kind of like elements of it. I mean, the story was... The story of the second game is actually kind of interesting. The first one is okay, but it's a bit trashy. The amount of violence in the first game is just comedic. It's like Outlast, level of, like, okay, you know what, this is, like, I got the point. You're going way too far with this, and you're doing it in a non-subtle way at all. It's actually kind of cringe how hard you're trying to be edgy with the violence. So, I mean, it is still a AAA game, so it can only be so violent. It's not really that violent, but the second game doesn't have even remotely anything like that at all. The first one is very clearly trying to be like, we are expecting, like, I don't know, fans of the Saw series, to play our game or something. It's like legitimately like Outlast level of just gore. And like, you don't see that in any video games at all. Like these days, or like legitimately Outlast is like the only game I can think of with that level of violence. Not even violence necessarily, as in, like, people aren't being skinned alive or anything like that in Tomb Raider 2013. But well, first of all, with what the game is going for, it wouldn't necessarily be all that out of tone, something like that to happen in it. But also, it wouldn't... how should I put it? No. Sorry. Yeah, it wouldn't necessarily be out of tone, and yes, Pooch, I know. And that's it. I don't think I have another point to make there. Yeah, but it's just gore. Like the level of gore in that game, like in like sporadic, well, not sporadic, in isolated episodes of the game, and it's just it's not one or two, it's like a handful, it's like half a dozen, just kind of like set pieces or episodes or whatever you wanna. Don't do that now, okay? I'm gonna cut my hand if you do this. The level of violence just goes through the roof, and I cannot even think of another AAA game with that level of just gore. Yeah, the second game was way more balanced in that department, because the first one is very obviously trying to be edgy. And I suppose that was part of their identity that they tried creating at that point, right? Because, like, you wouldn't see something like that on Uncharted, because Uncharted is essentially a PG-13 game. And yeah, god damn it, it's so difficult to walk, talk, and breathe in all this winter gear. And it's not even that cold. Yeah, but other than that, it's actually a very floaty game. It's a game that doesn't quite have like a level of polish you would expect out of a AAA game that's trying to be Uncharted. It's like literally budget Uncharted, but for some reason with these like mini open hub areas. I played in the hardest difficulty, of course, and let me tell you, there's almost no reason at all to be exploring. Like, you're gonna max out your character one way or the other. Some of the exploration is pretty okay. There are physics-based puzzles already in the first game. Yeah, cool. Because, like, I hardly remembered anything about the game. I played it on PS3 in either 2013 or 2014. Either the year it came out or just slightly later. The optional tombs to raid, tomb challenges, are absolute cringe. Like, they all literally take 5 minutes. And in order to access all of them, you have to go through a linear, like, hallway where you can only walk. You cannot even jog. And yeah, man, it takes about as much time to get through those linear hallways as it takes to actually solve the puzzle and get out of there. It's pretty embarrassing. Also, another thing I just mentioned, like jogging. So jogging is the fastest Lara can go. And you know what would have actually been pretty cool and interesting if they did it? Lara gets an incredibly dangerous and very impactful wound in the very opening of the game. She gets impaled on a piece of robar or whatever the hell, how you call that thing. And, well, first of all, it's ridiculous that, Aini, whatever you do there, come on, come back, come on. What are you fighting me for? Who do you think you're fighting? Do you think this is negotiation, Push? It isn't. So, not only she completely forgets about it in 15 minutes, she, I think at one point later, gets like super injured again and just walks it off. But I understand the premise. Obviously, you cannot have your character limping the entire game, let alone... I mean, she would have been completely incapacitated by that wound. I mean, yeah, for the first, like, I don't know, a couple of minutes after receiving that wound, well, first of all, she would have bled to death, okay? But if somehow, for some reason, she didn't, she would have, you know, just purely on adrenaline, she might have limped around about, you know, for some time, a couple of minutes, an hour tops, I suppose, not even an hour. But after that, she hardly would have been able to move. And it's a pretty interesting scene. It's a pretty shocking imagery when you see something like that, because you think, oh shit, is this the end of the game? But then she just walks it off, and okay, so I suppose we are in the comedy zone now. Well, that's nice to know. But the thing is that Lara is incredibly slow throughout the entire game. Even when she is like running down a burning bridge that is literally falling apart and is about to just completely go down any second now. And she just does this like light jogging. That's not even light jogging. She's just like power walking, essentially, way down the bridge. And it just makes absolutely no sense. Even Nathan Drake, although you don't have a sprint button, the speed with which Nathan moves around is contextual to whatever is happening currently in the scene. And during combat, or when, you know, we're running from the boulder, quote unquote, Nathan actually is animated as though he's booking ass, and as though, like, he moves with a speed, you know, that kind of makes sense for that animation. Ever since the first game. And for Tomb Raider, I just, for some reason, decided not to bother with that. So Lara is just, like, super casually jogging through all these, like, super tight, you know, like, near misses. You know, these, like, desperate escapes. And I know it probably wouldn't necessarily have looked pretty, and it would have been disturbing. It would have been distracting if you had Lara just kind of like at random moments. You just had like this randomized system, right, where Lara just kind of like stumbles because, you know, because of the wound. Like just randomly, you cannot move particularly fast because, oh no, my abdomen is hurting, right? So you can kind of move around a little bit. There is even a point where she gets like really wounded, and jumping hurts you. You take damage when you jump. You could have done basically more or less the entire game like this. Only, yeah, just Lara keeps the same speed of movement, but you change the animation where to where she either holds her abdomen or she, I don't know, like dynamically lets you know that this is my top speed, not because I just don't feel like moving any faster than this light jog, but because I physically cannot, because it's like painful, it's debilitating. If I move any faster, you know, my like light will flash in my eyes and I will just pass out of, you know, in pain. Like my body will go into shock. Which again, also you might say, well, but what if there's like a super high octane, you know, adrenaline situation? She should be moving faster, at least during encounters or when the boulder is behind her. Absolutely, she should, 100%, but she doesn't. So, but my way of putting this just like patch, literal patch, you know, putting a band-aid on Lara to justify why she moves so slow through the entire game. Yeah, just make it look like she's hurting, and you could at least use this justification for why she's so slow. Anyway, and from what I know, they never fixed it in the definitive edition also, by the way, so that's fucking nice to know. I don't know, it's an okay game. It was somewhat refreshing back in the day for me for some reason. Probably because it has a little bit of player agency, because you can stealth your way through encounters a little bit, right? You can stealth your way. You do need to go out of your way to fully explore areas. You know, it's not just Aini. Jesus Christ, there is a dead rabbit there. I couldn't see it in the darkness. Someone gets his face cleaned when we're back. Yeah. And, it doesn't feel like you're just on a linear roller coaster. But even compared to the second game is so much more open. It does make you rather exhausted by the end, with the amount of, like, just collectibles everywhere. But systems-wise, like, yeah, the second game is so superior. Like, the first one is just a little bit undercooked. And I did remember it to be that way, but I just didn't remember it to be that raw. Also, what doesn't help is that it's, like, very obviously a 7th generation game. So it's it's a little bit it's a little bit too blurry in a few places, combined with almost entire grayness and brownness of everything. So it kind of like doesn't really, it looks worse than it could have, because everything just looks like, well, not everything, but everything is very desaturated. So everything kind of blends in with, you know, itself into this kind of like mush that does not, even with this level of detail, does not necessarily have to feel like this, just like smeared, you know, like blended in, like too much grayness and brownness blending into each other. It didn't have to be that way, even on the 7th generation, like game engine. So yeah, it was an interesting experience going back to that game. I don't think I definitely didn't need to, and I most likely will never again. But it was something. It was clear. It was definitely a little bit of a reality check for myself. So it was. It's nice. It was okay. But yeah, if I were to grade that game, like honestly, even back in the day, I probably originally, and I didn't do it in my memory list, but the game is in my memory list, but it's like the whole franchise is in my memory list. So if I were to grade it though, I don't do it in memory list, but if I were to grade it, I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10 originally. Now, I'm not so sure. I'm honestly not so sure. At least like a sprint button needs to be there, honestly. And the fact that the camera shake, you cannot turn that off. Maybe you can in the Definitive Edition, and if that's the case, then okay. But the Definitive Edition remodels certain things to look more in accordance with how things are presented in Rise and Shadow. So, like, the Definitive Edition literally strips historical identity out of that game. And you may laugh and say, who cares about historical identity of Tomb Raider 2013? Why shouldn't it have one? Yeah, it's a little small cutie game that's not super ambitious, that's kind of hacky and a bit cheap, but you know, I don't want a remaster of it that will make it look exactly like Uncharted 4. You know, I think it should keep, you know, its identity, whatever. Okay, so we are done for today. Let me go see what the hell is happening, whether I've been streaming or not at all. And also, since we're on the topic, I just want to briefly say that I am not looking forward to the new Tomb Raider games at all. Reason number one, Unreal Engine. So those games will look like shit, and then they will run like shit. So I'm not particularly interested in that, because both of those games are essentially reboots. Like Lara Croft is being rebooted again, right? We don't know now, because of that, whether they're gonna go like, you know, Legend, Anniversary, and Underworld route, which is gonna make a jankier Uncharted, or whether they're gonna go, whether they will continue the trend of being more of a like open-ended, you know, player driven, dare I say authored, you know, experience. Basically Far Cry Light in Metroidvania style open worlds. I definitely would prefer that, because I was not a huge fan of Legend, Anniversary, or Underworld. Those games were so bad. I mean, they were okay. Legend was not even a Tomb Raider game at all. Legend was just like a shitty shooter. I don't understand why people now retroactively say it's all right, it's okay. No, it's not, and it never was. People laughed at that game when it came out. Anniversary was extremely janky and broken and buggy, and Underworld I didn't even bother playing. Like, at that point, what's the point exactly? So first of all, I am not. It's like you're rebooting the game again. So you rebooted it with Legend and Anniversary. You then started a whole new franchise, and now you're rebooting the original series again. Because whatever, like the first game that will come out will be again the reboot of the first game. It will be like Anniversary HD, about the whole like Atlantis stuff. That's gonna be another Anniversary again. Like, no. You guys have crossed the line. You cannot reboot the series for the third time and starting again from, like, you know, day zero. No, if you're gonna reboot the thing again and make Lara into like a classic action movie hero again, at least don't fucking start with the origin story that is a reboot of the first game again. Come on. No. And if you do that, I mean, you could still, you know, make it Metroidvania, make it player authored, but like, what are you gonna give Lara? Like, if you're rebooting the first game, you can't make it a Metroidvania, but about like player authoring, what are you gonna, you're gonna give Lara like Adam Jensen's like superpowers? You're probably not gonna give her a bow. And like, yeah, I doubt it. It's probably going to be linear. or even if it still be Metroidvania E, we most likely not going to get like open-ended gameplay, almost like immersive sim-light approach to mechanics. We're most likely not going to get that, and I am just not interested. I'm not interested in playing another Underworld or another Anniversary. Dare I say Legend? No, I'm not interested in that type of game at all, and I have no idea what they're thinking. Even if it's like, I don't know, something as polished as Uncharted. Who wants to play another Uncharted? I don't. Do you? Do you want Uncharted 5? I don't think you do. I don't think anyone does. At this point, I think we're completely done with these, like, cinematic, third-person storytelling experiences. Like, I think we're done with it. I think there's a reason why there hasn't been Uncharted 5. Why Naughty Dog took an L with The Last of Us Part 2, because the first one was like the most profitable game of all time, so obviously they made the second part. Then they made Uncharted 4. Well, they made Uncharted 4, they realized that actually we don't know what to do with this thing anymore. Now they cash grabbed with The Last of Us Part 2, and now they're working on a new IP. Like, there would have been Uncharted 5, if they thought that there was something else left to say, with that type of game. I don't think there is. So I have no idea what they're thinking about. Rebooting. Not even, like, again, there's one thing of to completely reboot a series, like the emotional trauma Tomb Raider series, right? 2013, Rise and Shadow. Okay, those are completely different games. But to reset the OG series again? Like, you already done that on PS2 and it was terrible. Like, those 3 games are fucking garbage. And you're gonna do it again now? On Unreal Engine 5 of all things? Zero interest I have in that shit. Whatever the next game is, I'm not interested in that either. I know there are like 2 Tomb Raider games were announced. So the first one will be literally the same thing that Anniversary was, which is we're rebooting the series again. Well, they technically did it with Legend. But then they did Anniversary as just like the origin story, and it's simultaneously a remake of the first game, but also it's just a content, just like a content squeeze out of the first game, so that we have the origin for this new storyline that we started. And I just like, okay, whatever. And that's what they do with the first game again. They're remaking the first game again, not because they're necessarily resetting the series, but because they just want to squeeze the origin story for Lara again. And I'm like, no, I'm not interested at all. I'm not interested in another Anniversary. I'm not interested in another Underworld or Legend. And I'm definitely not interested in any of those games on Unreal Engine 5. So I'm not hyped at all. I know just a few streams ago I mentioned that we are kind of overdue for another Tomb Raider game. Yeah, I did not mean we're overdue for another Anniversary. No, that's not what I meant. Okay, guys, bye-bye. I may go live in a couple of, hours, minutes again. Just to check something, just to test something, but I'm not sure if I'll have anything to say or if it'll just be like for, 5 minute, of nothingness test. Okay, bye.